It's day 82, 1,971 verses left. At the end of 1 Corinthians, Paul says that if Jesus hasn't risen from the dead in reality, then Christianity is an absolutely pointless waste of time. Yikes, I should probably look into that. But that because Jesus has risen from the dead, people who follow him are going to get a right good upgrade after they're dead. Oh, right, I'll make a wish list. In 2 Corinthians, Paul writes to the church in Corinth again. He begins by saying that even though their experience of life can be super hard, God is able to comfort them. This is because he's put his Holy Spirit in them to assure them that they really are his children. He then says that when he talks about Jesus, some people will think the message is really great, like the smell of something lovely, and other people will think that it really badly sucks, like the smell of something that's died. Regardless of these two reactions, Paul says that it's the Spirit of God that really gives people life rather than obeying the rules, even though the rules were super mega glorious. Check out Exodus 19 and 34 on day 6 and 7. In chapter 4, Paul says that even though some people think his message stinks, he won't pretend that it is something that it isn't, or that he is stronger or more impressive than he actually is. Instead, he says he fixes his eyes on what is unseen because that stuff is eternal. Paul then says that if anyone ever believes in Jesus, they're a brand new creation because God has totally forgiven them. Because this is such an epic thing to happen, Paul goes through some really tough stuff to make the message known. Check out chapter 6. After Paul encourages the church to be generous with their money, he acknowledges that the Corinthians have been comparing him to other leaders. These are people that he refers to as super apostles. Well, they do sound a lot more impressive. But Paul's got some pretty impressive credentials in terms of knowledge. Check out 11:16 to 23. And he's also suffered more than anybody else for the message of Jesus. Check out 11:23 to 33. He even says he's glad about his suffering because it brings him closer to the power of Jesus in his own life. Still, there's nothing wrong with a pair of slippers and a hot choc. Then we get Paul's letter to the Galatians. In this letter, Paul is mad because some other people have been making up a totally different version of what it means to follow Jesus. He's so mad about it that he says he actually hopes they go to hell. In chapter 2, it turns out that the big question is whether non-Jewish Christians have to get circumcised. Jewish people have been doing this since Genesis 17. And Paul, even though he's a devout Jew himself, is having none of it, and that's what he talks about in chapter 3. So do you get to heaven by obeying ancient laws or by believing in Jesus? Tune in tomorrow to find out!